This is the Stormy Willow Podcast, a lighthearted, balanced examination of the paranormal.
Hello, Brood. It's your favorite podcasting paranormal sisters, Sarah and Adele here. Welcome to March. Hello, Adele.
Hello.
It's March. Can you believe it?
Yeah, we finally got out of January and then hopped into March.
No kidding. That's a good way to put it. I feel like January lasted for, 52 weeks. I blinked and February's over, and here we are, closer to, we're almost at springtime. So time changes next Saturday, or Sunday rather, and I am here for it.
Yeah, just cruising through the winter.
Cruising through the winter. Well, how are you?
I am good. I got a really good topic today that I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to get it set up so everyone can digest it.
Oh no. We'll have to take a nice, I feel like we're gonna need to take a nice deep breath and just focus.
just keep holding my hand. I'll take you through to the end.
I can't wait. Oh, that's gonna be awesome. Well, before we get deep, I've got some funny booger news for you guys today.
Okay.
Adele sent this TikTok to me, and I'm sure you all have seen it by now, about the Willy Wonka disaster.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So if you've not seen it, basically it was supposed to be this Willy Wonka experience,
interactive,
exactly,
live, immersive kind of,
and
awesome
it was in Scotland, and it was about $45 American dollars a ticket, so it really wasn't a very, it was kind of a pricey.
Yeah, it wasn't cheap,
and they get there and it's just and if you haven't seen it's everywhere, so check it out on TikTok, wherever, and you see it.
YouTube, I'm sure.
It's this empty room with bleachers. It's just
it looks like the staff room in a school.
It's bad, and maybe it's the accents that make it even more fun, but just oh god, just and people are fucking pissed. This is not something they're taking lightly. They're mad as hell about this.
With me anyway, it's hard to tell when European people are mad. So, yeah. I don't know. It's they're probably really angry by their standards.
Exactly. Well, so I found a story on the NewYorkPost.com, and you guys this might blow your mind, but The Simpsons predicted the disastrous Willy Wonka experience 31 years ago. If you can't believe it.
Was it in Scotland too?
It wasn't. It was Homerland. So
it's close enough for me.
So basically twice, okay, this happened in The Simpsons. So once was with Homerland, and it literally has admissions $50, and you walk in and it's a little tiny trampoline and stinky mattresses.
Oh god.
So we did an episode about The Simpsons predicting the future, but there's another episode that's going to blow your mind from The Simpsons in 2002, where Homer encounters a sad smoking Oompa Loompa that looks like a cosplay counterpart at the botched Wonka Bash, and you can't probably see it.
Yeah, you can.
But oh my god! And so this story has gotten people really talking again about how do the Simpsons do this? How could they have possibly predicted this disaster?
I don't know. That's pretty funny.
I thought so too. So Adele has been sending me the TikToks, and we've been laughing back and forth about it. And then when I saw the Simpson prediction, I was like, I can't. That is
okay.
That one blows my mind. That's a little, I don't know.
It really is starting to feel more like a simulation.
It really, really is. It's so I just thought that was a really funny story about the Simpsons. So yeah, so definitely maybe check out those episodes of The Simpsons and like compare to the fiasco. So hopefully, I know that they've been really with it going viral. I think that they're getting a refund, hopefully, and I don't know, maybe some free chocolates. I mean, I'm not sure. So yeah, so there, I mean, there's that. But let's break it down for this week. So this is not a bad week. There's really not a whole lot happening in the skies, but let's break it down with starting with our favorite, Mercury. So Mercury's been floating through the waters of Pisces since around Valentine's Day. And so this week, this cosmic partnership is actually going to come to an end. But first, Mercury is going to conjunct with Neptune. And you're like, what does this mean, Sarah?
Mm-hmm.
So, this is what this basically means. In astrology, Mercury is known as the cosmic messenger, if you will. It's what, think of it as like, it's like what you think about, what you want to learn. That's what Mercury energy brings. Neptune, on the other hand, is more of feeling. So it's what we imagine, what we create, what we feel. And so with these two planets coming together, the cosmic mind and the cosmic creative are going to be coming together to really heighten your imagination. So like things that you want to learn or things that, that you may have been thinking about is really going to be heightened for you, which is, a good thing. Like if you're planning maybe something for the spring or the summer or whatever, is really going to, those senses are going to be really heightened, but it's going to really work with the mind. Like maybe, like I was telling Adele earlier, like I want to know more about homesteading. So like maybe that seed's going to be planted where like my creativity and my actual, let's learn about it, let's do it, are going to work together in a really good way. So I think that's good for everybody. And then really the only thing happening this week to note is that on Saturday, March the 9th, Mercury is going to move into Aries. And so you really want to use this time and this energy to negotiate. It can be work, it can be personal, whatever. That Aries energy is going to be in your favor to really be like, hey, you know what? We need to renegotiate the terms of my employment or this relationship or whatever it is. So Aries will be in your favor starting Saturday, March 9th. So if you're thinking about asking for a raise, don't do it this week. Maybe wait till you got that Aries energy moving in on Saturday the 9th before you do that. So really not a bad way. Like it's not a bad horoscope. So, chew on that Cadbury egg and think about what you want to learn and what you want to create. I think, spring is always I love spring because I feel like it's just such a rebirth. And so, whatever ideas, that you've been having through the winter, it's like, it's time to make those things happen for you in your life. So, or maybe, reassess things that you thought were going to work out and they aren't and they're dead and replant, and go in a different direction. So I think that March is going to be a great month. So happy birthday, Aries babies. So Steven's one of them. So yeah, so I think it's going to be great. That's all I have. Back to you, Adele, with the main event.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a bad week ahead.
Yeah, we got this.
We do. Well, I guess we could just hop right into it.
All
If
right.
you tuned in last week, I landed on theory. And this is kind of a stretch, so I'm entitling this A Soul's Journey.
Oh,
All
okay.
right.
Oh,
So
journey.
so what I'm gonna do is kind of talk about what the heck is this whole life and afterlife thing about under the lens of like the new age movement and where we are kind of in modern day.
Very cool. Yeah, I like it.
And it's
A big
also just
topic.
pretty fun. So yeah, it's broad. We're gonna tiptoe around some of these, and I'm just going to give you a taste of what some of these ideas are.
I love it. Well, listen, Herman is cuddled up under the desk and he's here for it, as am I. So please,
All right.
bring
Well,
us Soul's Journey.
let's do it. So let me think my sources before we hop into it. So we have theosophical.org, DoloresCannon.com. We will
Oh,
be talking
Dolores.
about Dolores.
Yeah.
Medium.com, Pathos.com, NewtonInstitute.com, because we will be talking about Michael Newton as well.
Not the Fig Newton.
Not Fig Newton, not Isaac Newton, but Michael Newton. But
Not
I
to
know
be.
you were hoping for Wayne Newton.
I was actually. I was waiting for Wayne and the Fig Newton. That's what I was here for.
Well,
You lost me.
whichever Newton you prefer, you can always enjoy it with some Michael Newton.
Let me interrupt already again. So funny you mentioned Dolores Cannon because last week when I was doing Nostradamus, I listened to a podcast and it like tied her. She was like the person they talked about, and I think that's really interesting that she came up again in your research.
Yeah, that is kind of a weird singularity in that she allegedly made direct contact with Nostradamus.
Yes, yeah, that's
And
what we were. That's
yeah,
exactly right.
and you just covered Nostradamus, and now
That's
I'm covering
really
her.
a synchronicity, one might say,
Yeah.
or a soul's journey.
Oh, perhaps it's just a part of the now. So yes. So I tried to kind of give this a good, I guess, tie-in. So we're gonna flow through a few different topics. So
Okay.
we're not gonna go deep into any of them, but this is all still just really fun stuff to consider. So let's start with theosophy, or like this concept of an ancient knowledge. I think if we start there, we can kind of work our way to souls and the whole point of all of this.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, so theosophy has kind of two definitions. The first is teaching about God and the world based on mystical insights. But I think the one we're going to be mainly focusing about is definition two. And I would dare say this is the more modern definition. So the second definition is the teachings of a modern movement originating in the US in 1875 and following chiefly Buddhist and Brahmanic theories, especially of pantheistic evolution and reincarnation. So
Okay.
reincarnation is very important here.
Yeah.
And I am going to be citing directly from some of these sites because I think the nuance of their wording is really important, honestly.
Yeah.
So first we'll begin with the Theosophical Society, just to kind of lay the groundwork for, what the heck are we talking about? Because I never realized there was a society and a school of thought around those questions of life. So this is kind of a very fluid notion, actually. And I think definitely puts the individual first. So one version of this ancient wisdom in recent times is theosophy. It's derived from the Greek roots, meaning divine wisdom. So it's a body of knowledge that tells us about our place in the universe and why the world is the way it is. Although it agrees in many respects with scientific theories, it goes past them and addressing unseen realities that we all experience but often don't understand. It answers many questions that people have, such as why am I here? What is the purpose of the universe? Is there a God? Why does there seem to be evil and injustice in the world?
Oh yeah, hitting it there.
But okay, so now that we kind of have the groundwork for theosophy, we have to talk a little bit about the New Age movement, and then I promise we're gonna get to like all the cool spirit stuff because this is where they kind of meld together. So very briefly, the New Age movement was influenced by theosophy, and I would dare say they've kind of blended now today.
Yeah, I can
you'll
see that.
see both kind of mixed together. So the New Age movement brought about like interest in world religions, comparative mysticism, and an evolutionary mindset to the New Age movement. So the Theosophical movement aimed to unite all religious seekers, which makes sense, right? Because they're saying there's many paths to enlightenment and ancient wisdom, and we could all access it by whatever works for us as an individual. So them trying to kind of unite everybody, they kind of drew upon a lot of Asian philosophies such as karma and reincarnation.
Right.
So those are big elements to this. And I want to see if there's anything else I want to say about the New Age movement. I think that might be as deep as we want to go.
Yeah,
We
you could
could
probably
linger
just
there.
cover the whole New Age movement on its own.
Yeah. I just do want to say that like the New Age movement, with this concept of karma, reincarnation, and all these different thoughts, like this is where you start seeing practices such as past life regressions and past
Okay.
life therapies began. So that's really
Yeah.
where we're going to get into Dolores Cannon and Michael Newton, because that's how they claim to know what they know about the afterlife,
Okay. Yeah.
is through past life regressions. So all of that to kind of bring it to where we are with past life regressions. Because the first thing I think every logical person is like, how the hell can you know about the afterlife?
Sure.
And then if you don't, like, I don't know. I just felt like it was necessary to lay the groundwork on that. But now we'll get to the fun stuff with like hypnotherapy, past life regression
Yes.
therapy.
Which Adele got me for my birthday one year, which was such an awesome birthday gift.
Yeah, maybe we can talk a little bit about that, because some of the stuff that these two do might sound kind of familiar if you've ever
Yeah.
had a past life regression. Um, so just a little bit about Dolores Cannon. I see her a lot on TikTok. I don't know
Me
if it's
too. She's
okay.
always coming up on my feed. She's very lovely.
She's like a grandma. Like you just
Yes.
love her.
Like she's definitely, she is a very grandma vibe and just so sweet. Like she's just somebody, like when her TikToks come up, I always listen. I don't know, she's just very calming and just like, oh, Dolores.
Yeah, and I have to say, kind of going with the, like what Theosophy is saying, like some of her concepts and things I've heard about, but it's something about her and the way she delivers it and packages it. It resonates more with me, or I understand it better the way she explains it. So I don't know. Maybe she's just
very simple but they're very abstract.
Oh yeah. So
then she's something special.
So yeah, we're not gonna go into like, I mean, she has thoughts on everything. And just a little bit about her, she actually didn't get into hypnotherapy until later in life. Like not until after her kids were gone and out of the house.
So crazy.
So she had like a whole nother life as a mom of like, I think 4 children with a husband in the Navy, and they were like military family.
Wow. I did not know. I just figured she'd been doing that since birth. It just seemed like
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll talk about the parallels kind of between these two, her and Michael Newton. And it wasn't until she was trying to quit smoking, like her husband was kind of practicing hypnotherapy, and then he was trying to help her quit smoking and to lose weight. And that's how they kind of accidentally discovered past life regressions. Actually, it was in a session with a lady who said she was like in Chicago in the 1920s and she was a flapper and she could so clearly like describe things. And then they were like, what? Maybe we were on, like, what was that about?
Yeah, like, where did that come from?
Yeah. So, so she was born in 1931 and just passed away in 2014. She was here for a while, but like I said, I think it's interesting. She and Michael Newton, neither of them got into this stuff until later in their lives.
I love that as a 40-something. It gives me hope that it's like, you can have a whole nother life, really.
Yeah, seriously. So she was just starting really in her 40s, I would say.
Something. Like she's trying to quit smoking and
accidentally discover glimpses of the afterlife through hypnotherapy.
Just like our story last week, like we've been looking for signs of ghosts, and there's that tea shop just gets it on security camera. It's like, take it. It's like people have spent their whole lives trying to like make these things happen.
Yeah, seriously. So, speaking of the New Age movement, she was one of the leaders of the New Age movement. She had a 50-year career in the field of hypnotherapy, so she definitely did a lot of these. She published 17 books on topics including extraterrestrial worlds, lost civilizations, parallel universes, spiritual awareness, and mysteries such as the Bermuda Triangle, the Loch Ness Monster, and Stonehenge.
Wow.
And her books have been translated into more than 20 languages.
What a career.
Not to mention, she also developed the unique quantum healing hypnosis technique, which is registered trademark of hers. And you can even go to school to learn how, like, her method for doing this specific hypnotherapy
Cool.
for past life regressions.
I want to go to the Dolores Cannon School.
Yeah, I think she actually has one out here in New Mexico.
I was about to say probably like I was thinking Sedona, but
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
Very
yeah,
cool.
just trying to like
More
summarize
lives on.
her
That's
stuff. Like, she could be multiple episodes just of her own. So we are
Yeah.
barely touching on anything she's
She would be a good one
done.
just to cover from.
We could probably have an entire show just on Dolores
Yeah,
Cannon.
we should actually.
Maybe sideshow.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to succinctly, just in short, tell you what she's about. So she was able to connect to this thing she calls source. It's like that higher power. Some people call it God, some people call it the universe. It's just that higher whatever it is. It has many names. And she was able to contact this directly through sessions with clients when they're in like this state of what's called somnambulistic state. So it's kind of like that state when you're almost asleep or just barely waking up, which is perfect for hypnosis. So this is like her specific technique for guiding you through that. So a lot of it's a lot of visual prompts. Like, I've heard of her like start like, all right, you're walking up a staircase, you see 3 doors, each door represents a certain period of time, choose a door, and then it takes you to these things. And the concept is that in this life you will get information from a past life that might be needed to help you through this one. It's kind of the idea. She takes it a step further and says she can even do quantum healing. I mean, like, heal you of cancer, heal you of painful shoulder, like all of your physical ailments, which I think goes a bit far, because once we get into her philosophy, it has to not interfere with your life's purpose, though. So it's like, if you come here as someone to experience blindness, like, that's not going to cure your blindness, because the purpose of this life was for you to experience as a blind person. So I don't know. It can get kind of complicated.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's kind of the general theory with her technique. But let's talk about the afterlife. So as she started doing, I mean, like 45 years, I think she was doing these sessions. So she's had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these. And she started recording like commonalities, and through like different information people were saying, and Michael Newton did the same, she was kind of able to paint this picture of what happens when you die and the spirit realms and more of what all of this is about. So that's what we're going to mainly focus on.
Awesome.
What do they say? All of us say happens when we die. So these were the commonalities she observed. So there is that white light, which I think we all have heard of by this point.
All heard of that, the infamous white light, yes.
So, and I do want to say this is all taking place for both Dolores Cannon and Michael Newton doing his own separate stuff. This is all around like the 1950s. And these ideas are not out there in the public yet. They're writing about these ideas. These are the people who brought these ideas to everybody. So I know a lot of people worry about like, well, everybody's primed. Everybody's heard of the white light. And all these stuff, but
absolutely.
I don't think this was very common knowledge then. So I'm just putting that out there.
That's a very good point.
So yes, she is saying that people are commonly talking about this white light and that it's more like an energy field. And it kind of separates this 3-dimensional world from the spirit world. And when you die, you kind of transition through that. And there too, you might have different experiences based on how mature your soul is. So for some, you just instantly are like, whoop, I'm into that world. Now I'm in the spirit realm. And for others, there's like a minute of transition, like, whoa, I'm disoriented. What is this? And that white light might even feel more like a tunnel because you're being more forced to go where you need to go.
Gotcha.
So it must need a little bit more coaxing.
Yeah, that would be,
especially if you're a newer soul.
That's definitely going to be me. I'm not going to be a mature soul, I can tell you that. Like, no.
And this is an interesting thing. I have heard other people say this on like I Survived Beyond and Back. That's a really good
Hmm.
series. I remember one lady saying this specific thing. Some even say that there's like a silver cord that is severed. Like they that gets detached
That's
from the
interesting.
body. And like they can see that happen. Others
That's
can't.
almost like an umbilical cord situation, like with birth, you know? That's kind of
Yeah.
very interesting. That's what made me think of that.
Yeah. So that that's not true for everybody, but some
Yeah,
commonly
actually.
notice that. There's also this whole greeting process. So most people, like I said, they're usually kind of disoriented, maybe even a little nervous, like,
Yeah.
not really knowing what's going on. And then finally a greeter will come and reintroduce you back to the spirit realm because you're from here. This is your home. You're back home, was the idea. Usually this greeter is a relative or a friend that you've known through one life. It might not even be
Yeah.
this life.
Wow.
It'll be a part of like your soul family.
I love that.
Um, Someone you share a karmic connection with in some life. Um, and there's like a huge homecoming, which we'll get to that. That sounds like a lot of
Okay.
fun. But really, like this place is more like a school. So a lot of people refer to this as like the in-between place. You're almost like in between dimensions, in between lives. It's like this.
Like Earth, like this realm that we're in, like right now.
Yeah, I almost
Mhm.
think of it as, in Bewitched when she like pauses time. Like I
Yeah.
almost think of it like that combined with the witch realm that they're in.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
almost like it's separate but all the same, but time doesn't exist in this place either.
Gotcha.
So that's where I think it also gets trippy because just keep going with me because I don't really understand
Listen,
it either.
time, when you really think about time and like it's just really a construct anyway, it will blow your freaking mind.
Yeah, yeah. Um so yeah, I guess like this is kind of like a school, this in between place, but it's like a paradise version of Earth, but like times a million. Like it is so beautiful and perfect, and everything is perfectly like flourishing. It's like the best version of everything on Earth times like
Oh,
a million. Like there's even more colors. Things have more vibrant colors. Mountains are
wow,
way
you're like
bigger than they are.
Hawaii was crap.
Seriously, like this is supposed to be just like bigger mountains, more vivid colors, like just an actual Wonka world that actually checks all the
Well, hey now, I don't know if I would want to compare it to that. It would be my version. I'd be
oh
like,
shit.
wait a second. Maybe that's hell.
But apparently like it's kind of a similar format of school here. Like you have classrooms and teachers, which are like your guides, and souls are in this place to evaluate their lives. But they're supposed to be able
Okay.
to step back into it kind of neutrally because now they're not like connected to that life, so you can objectively see it.
Interesting. Let's see all sides of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's already kind of difficult for me to comprehend is having no
Yeah.
connection to that. But I don't know. At the end we can talk about our thoughts on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're just here to be like, okay, what happened to my life? But this trips me out because sometimes I'm like, what if right now, like this very moment, what we think is life, what if it's just our life review?
Oh, that's trippy.
And then it's like, oh, I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
so they're learning various lessons based on these lives to help their soul evolve. Now that's
Okay.
where I don't really know much. Like I don't really know what they're trying to achieve, but I do see that it almost makes sense in knowing the walk versus walking the walk, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe that's why it's necessary to do all this shit that we don't want to do in life. I don't know. But yeah, so that's kind of what's going on is school life.
Okay.
And then you have the astral realms. So this is where it's more of like that afterlife. I would say like that school place is kind of like your afterlife review. You're
Yeah.
you're doing stuff. or like kind of almost like you're taking a breather from living.
I feel like it's like a debrief, you know,
Yeah,
like you just like
exactly.
got back from outer space or some mission.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a
like, okay, let's debrief, you know, get you acclimated to this world or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like the debriefing space. And then there's the astral realm. So this is actually based on your soul's vibration, like your frequency.
Okay.
All right, so there is no hell, like none of these places are punishment. But you do have different tiers. They're kind of like a lower, a middle, and an upper.
Okay.
Okay, so the frequency is based on karma and other behaviors in life. Okay. So you kind of figure out where you're probably gonna go after the debriefing room.
They're like, you're basically gonna go to, you know, tech school, and you're gonna get an okay, like liberal arts, and okay, you're going Ivy League. Like, I feel like it's like that.
Yeah, kind of.
I'm probably going to work those, like, you know, the Hogwarts, like, inner city school.
Yeah. I just hope there's a hammock somewhere waiting for me. I'm just gonna have to take a breather.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like any realm is going to be better than this earth, so.
Yeah, so I'm going to read a lot of this pretty verbatim. So this is a great write-up in medium.com of describing these realms, but I really like that Dolores actually brings up some of her interviews so you can hear verbatim what they're saying.
That's so cool.
So the lower astral. So this is home for souls who dominant vibration. Sorry. Take two. So this is home for souls whose dominant vibration is greed, jealousy, lust, and things that are lower, like lower vibrations.
Yeah.
These entities are what we call ghosts or apparitions.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, so they feed on the energy of the brutality inflicted on the earth. And since their energy is so low, they cannot go higher up the spiritual ladder and are stuck to the energy of this previous experience.
They can't move on.
Yeah, so I guess that lower astral is the low energy keeping you tied here to Earth.
And you may get here, so tell me if I'm going too far, but did they ever get a chance to try to aim higher?
So yeah, there again, this isn't punishment or anything. Like, you do have the opportunities to do it. But this is kind of interesting because I think it's just hard assuming all of this is real and what people are saying is true, which is what I would like to do for the purposes of this episode because it's more fun. Mm-hmm. It definitely sounds like everything's very, very fluid and that nothing is permanent. Okay. That's my takeaway from all of this.
Yeah.
So John, one of Dolores's patients under hypnotherapy said, quote, "For instance, we've got people here that want a cigarette, but they, the lower astral entities, can't smoke because we don't have cigarettes over here. Okay. So they'll spend time hanging around with physical people that want to smoke."
Okay. I mean, that kind of breaks it down. Yeah, okay.
Which takes me back to Zach Bagans saying that it's probably a lot like Ghost. And to me, it's so that guy on the subway who's like, I just want some smokes.
Yes.
Right? Oh, yes. I don't know. So that, like, once we start digging into it, I can see, like, these types of things. You know, I don't know. Okay. Gets trippy. So yeah, right. So it's kind of choice. It's like they're comfortable in
the earthly things. That you know, they want that stuff.
Which, and then if you think about it too, like all of these kind of like backstabby people that lead the world, it's like, yeah, that's why they lead the world, because they're really good at this low energy stuff. Yeah, but I think a lot of us aren't happy in the world because we vibrate at something different.
I agree. It's like maybe like our soul journey is we and maybe we weren't like that in a previous life, but I think most of us in this life realize that those things don't really mean that you're happy, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe that's because that's just our soul journey. And we've already done that, been there, done that.
yeah, very true.
We could have very much been like that person before.
Yeah, like I think in general, it's like you think of them as new baby souls, kind of like they're just not mature.
Like they just don't know.
It's not exactly. So whenever you think it's all about growth and evolution. So therefore, like Dolores Cannon's just incredible. Like there's no such thing really as a wrong choice. Like
Yeah,
if you're going where you are going, it's
yeah.
okay. Like you can't make the wrong choice. It's impossible to do.
That's refreshing.
So that's just the lower. Let's talk about the mid astral.
Okay, let's do
All
it.
right, this is also John. So John says, quote, then there are the mid-level souls. They like to manifest themselves in happy situations with their families that have crossed over. There are houses and lake resorts and boats for them.
Oh,
The mid-astral is synonymous with paradise. So here, souls can manifest anything they want and live with their loved ones for eternity if they wish to. The people in this realm are not particularly advanced souls, but are only waiting for their next lifetime. However, some souls get so attached to their life in mid-astral that they refrain from advancing to the next level. That's when spirit guides intervene and motivate them to move forward.
come on now, you've been on vacation for about a million
Vacation's
years.
over.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh please, just another million years, that'd be great. I mean, honestly, that sounds great.
Yeah, just one more million. Just one more million.
Just maybe I don't want to advance. Okay, I'm happy with what I got.
Yeah. All right. And now upper. Let's talk about the top
Okay, let's
tier.
talk about the, what would this be called? This is like the resort extraordinaire.
Yeah, this is like the Royal Hamptons.
Okay. So basically we've got Myrtle Beach. We've got
That the kids don't want a cigarette. It's Myrtle
it's
Beach.
like it's still a fun time, but it's like we got the Myrtle.
It's not oceanfront. It's the one across the street.
But you're
But
still
it's fine. You can still see the beach.
You're still Grand Strand. It's fine. So the middle tier, what are we gonna call it? I guess it would be like,
The Holiday Inn.
well, I was thinking like another beach, like maybe a better beach than Myrtle.
Oh, even better.
Maybe like the Outer Banks situation.
Okay.
And then this tier is just gonna be like the Hawaii, like resort, everything.
Yeah, like Bora Bora.
Okay, got it.
Viking cruise. Not the carnival, but like the Viking cruise.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
All right. So upper astral. I like that they added a comparison too. So if mid astral is a nice American suburb, then upper is utterly gorgeous and picturesque, like super upper class. There are beautiful mountains, oceans, streams, lakes, and waterfalls. In a beautiful jewel-like city, the Temple of Wisdom is situated, surrounded by mountains. It is a large complex with several departments: the Temple of Healing, the Tapestry Room, and the library.
The library, which reminds me of a great book I read. It's called The Midnight Library. If you've never read it, it's amazing. And it kind of talks about that in this midnight library, like you pick your next life. It's amazing. If you've not read it, read it. You'll love it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what they get at in that you do choose the life you're living.
Yeah.
And we can talk about what we think about that at the end. So yeah, in these mountains, the upper astral entities or the very advanced souls reside in little villas.
Little villa.
So in conclusion, the lessons that you learn here can either accelerate your soul growth or get you stuck in a karmic loop. So it is not destiny that is responsible for the state of your life, but your awareness and karma. So that's what it's about, your awareness and your karma.
Okay.
We are infinite souls who have incarnated on Earth for our own individual experiences. That's all it's about. That's it. And law of conservation of energy is that law can neither be created nor destroyed, but only be converted from one form to another. So by the virtue of this, your consciousness also changes its state from the physical to the spirit upon death.
Wow, that gives me some hope.
Yeah. So that's kind of the view of Dolores Cannon. There again, that's not even close to scratching the surface. But yeah, she very much is into like, you've chosen this life, and her explanations, I think, make you feel kind of better about people who have just really rough lives.
Yeah.
she says yes, they did choose it, but it's to burn off probably too much karma in one lifetime, and that their guides probably told them, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And they
And
said
maybe
yes.
it was their journey, was like maybe they were really horrific before and then they felt like, that was their penance. Like, I kind of want to come back and maybe be under someone like me and see what that was like. Who knows?
Yeah, and then
No.
she kind of, and then you get into like all sorts of thoughts and stuff from there.
But
But yeah, essentially, like if you victimized people, maybe
maybe
you want to
you'll come back
see,
of,
and there again, it's not punishment. It's that now you're like, maybe I need to experience what that's like so I can grow as a soul.
yeah. And I it kind of makes me feel like listening like to Dolores's theories. It makes me like not. This is gonna sound really, hate's a strong word, but it makes me like people like the Donald Trumps and those people in the world. It makes me see them as like, okay, this is just their soul journey. They're gonna figure it out instead of just like, I hate you, like you're such a horrible person. Like it makes me feel in a better place where I could like I can look at them like maybe with like, oh man, like I really hate that this is the journey that you're
Yeah.
on. You get it better. It brings me a little more peace instead of just being like, God,
Yeah, I
I'm
just
such
think
a horrible person.
I think it's a more healthy, that's what I like about the theosophical kind of view of people and their behaviors, because I think it does make you less angry and more compassionate towards people.
That's a much better way of saying what I was trying to say.
And then, yeah, and then a lot of these gurus are like, if you can finally get to a place of only feeling the compassion, then all you have for anybody is love. And that's all paradise is perfect love for all of us.
And that's a parallel I feel like I've heard a lot. It's really all about just the love. It's not, I mean, it's true. It's like, you think of things or people that have done really bad things and it makes you angry. And then you're just like, and why are you like this? And it's like, if you could just see them from a different perspective.
Or and just know that they're on their own journey.
Yeah. Like, and you're like, man, I really, dang, I hope you get it right in the next one,
Yeah, it's almost like to be more of a passenger in your own life and to be like, whoa, that weird experience just happened to this person. That's me right now in this life.
Right.
And then you don't really get, I guess the disconnection makes you not feel so angry about stuff. It's really interesting. Like, and we'll briefly go through Dr. Michael Newton as well. So I do want to say that Dolores Cannon, I think, was for the most part self-taught, which I think that's just fine. But I think she does get some crap from people having not being a doctor and stuff. But this guy, Michael Newton, is a doctor, or was a doctor. Also kind of the same time period. He was born in 1931, passed in 2016. So they were very much around.
I wonder if in the afterlife, if they're in the same villa.
Or are they the same soul?
Or, yeah, like
because he gets into some really interesting stuff, and I think Dolores also has kind of gotten to some of this, but we'll get to like what he thinks of all of this. So he has his own institute too, the Michael Newton Institute, where you can learn his method, which is the life between lives approach, but it's his own like kind of way he does past life regressions, kind of like Dolores has her own, he has his own as well. So his own technique you can also learn, and he kind of pioneered his own thing too, and was also, looking at the commonalities of what all these patients are saying. So just a bit about his credentials, and then just a bit about him too, directly from his institute's website. So these are some of the big life questions Dr. Michael Newton dedicated his life to finding answers for. In his search, he discovered some amazing insights into what happens to us in the afterlife. The life between lives is what he calls it, LBL. Using the LBL technique he pioneered, he discovered that hidden afterlife memories can be remembered because spiritual information and wisdom exists deep in the mind of every person. Through over 30 years of research through the eyes of 7,000 clients, he was able to map for us a working model of the spirit world. So this is from 7,000 client interviews of what does this whole spirit realm
look
like. So yeah, and just a bit about his credentials. Yes, he had a doctorate in counseling psychology. He was a member of the American Counseling Association. He had a master's in hypnotherapy. And he was originally a skeptic of all of this.
I love that.
He originally refused repeatedly to undertake past life regression sessions, which had become popular in the 50s and 60s. And then I think he finally did one, or got so curious about what people were saying in their sessions, and took it a step further.
And now turns professional.
Yeah, exactly. And another parallel, not only the time period, like it was also an accident that he kind of stumbled upon this technique. So he was developing his deep trance work with a client, and in his mid-adulthood, there again, it took him down the path when he discovered this. I can't remember exactly what happened in the session, but it was something very odd. Like, what was that about? So let's jump into this. And a lot of this, there again, will be pretty verbatim because I think it's the nuances of how he describes things.
Right.
So I want to try to stick really close to that. So in the late 1960s, Michael treated a client for psychosomatic pain of the shoulder with traditional hypnotherapy. This man had sought hypnotherapy, having exhausted the medical model where he could find nothing wrong with him. So it was kind of like his last ditch effort to try to figure out why he had this pain.
Yeah, everybody's like, nothing's wrong with you. You're fine. It's in your head.
Yeah, so in a deep trance state, Michael asked him to go to the source of his pain. Assuming some form of unconsciousness, trauma lay beneath the condition. So I guess maybe in some of these hypnotherapy sessions, people can find the own source of their pain, is the idea. And the client landed in a scene from World War I, where he was being bayoneted in a trench during the Battle of the Somme, or Somme, I don't know, sorry. Michael asked all manner of questions about his unit, commanding officer, and even the badges on his uniform before desensitizing the pain and resolving the issue. The client went away bewildered, though healed, so he was able to heal the pain through the session. And then Michael, ever the researcher, wrote to the keepers of the war records in London and confirmed the client's story.
Oh my god.
So he validated that, like, this was a real person. These things really happen. I do want to mention that Dolores Cannon also, where she could, validated people's past lives and confirmed who they were as well.
So amazing.
So this was a moment of deep significance that set him on this path of.
Can you imagine being such a skeptic and then being like, wait, what?
Okay, yeah, and I have to say that stuff is what keeps me going. With the second I dismiss all this stuff as woo-woo, there's always something like this where I'm like, there's no way. Like, and I've heard of so many cases on so many different podcasts, like the one girl who came back and she's like, I was Anne Frank. Like, there's no way she knew as much about Anne Frank's house and life as she did at that age, at that time, when the diary wasn't even public yet. Like, there's just no way. Anyway, super trippy. So I totally understand Michael's, like, what the fuck kind of mindset.
I'm sure he was like, I'm gonna, as a scientist, I'm sure he's like, okay, next step, I'm gonna validate that none of this is baloney is even real. And then it's like, oh god, it is. Like, I can't imagine what he must have been thinking.
Yeah. And then in 1968, Michael had his first taste of expanding his method, the LBL, life between life approach. He treated a woman with depression, again taking her to the source of her pain. She naturally flipped into the afterlife, a period in between her past lives, and met her soul group there. So she's actually in the spirit realm.
Wow, that's cool.
Her profound experience of loneliness that had catalyzed as her depression was resolved after this reunion. She remembered in her LBL leaving her soul friends behind to learn independence. I guess that's supposed to be what she was here for on this one. And yeah, from there on, he was like, I have to explore this even more.
For sure.
So let's see. Yeah, from his discovery of this healing, he facilitated through deep spiritual regression. He developed over many years his own intensive age regression techniques to effectively take hypnosis subjects beyond their past life memories to a more expanded and meaningful soul experience between lives. So he was able to start navigating them a lot further. So this is, there again, 7,000 clients spanning over 35 years, and this is the general framework or model that he has of what happens when you die.
Okay.
And so he says at death, your soul rises out of the body, so like Ghost. And usually if you're an old soul, you don't really need a greeting. Like, you might not get a greeter because you're like, oh, I know where I am. I know exactly where I am. If you're a newer soul, you probably do need your guide. And you meet that guide at Earth's astral plane. So I don't know for sure, but that sounds like that kind of same energy field that Dolores was talking about.
I was thinking that's like the school that we were talking about. It almost seems like that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we're like that. But that's like the spot like where the new souls come in that are finished their missions. Like, okay.
Yeah, it's like where you go right after you die. Like,
yeah, I feel like it's like the
that tunnel
a little bit. Like, check in. Who do I have this person check?
Yeah, it's like the check-in.
That's how I feel.
I thought this was interesting too. He says some souls hang around their death scene for a bit, but most want to leave immediately. So
I can see that.
And I think once we like get to the conclusion of his thoughts, like I can totally see that too. At a soul level. Not wanting to hang around. And it's like you also lose your sense of time too. Like already time doesn't really apply. So even if you're spending a lot of time with someone while they're grieving, you're not really losing any time in the spirit.
Because it's not the same. Yeah, it's like you're fine. You're not late to your check-in.
Yeah, so that, I think wrapping your head around that there's no linear time is really, really difficult. But both of them allude to like there's just not linear time like we think of here. And these are kind of just something I call it, kind of like the exiting. So like as the soul moves further from Earth, it gets closer to the white light. So this sounds more like that tunnel of energy, I think. Right. So there's the white light again. And it's like it's like a transition. The more further you move from Earth, the more into the light you are. Almost like a tunnel as well. So some overlap here between the two. And specific experience depends on the soul's maturity. So there again, it's still kind of
they're overlapping, especially when you like look at how many people that they've worked with and corroborated their stories. It's interesting how they're very, very like it's pretty much the same thing so far.
Yeah, and he's like, I think he was born in LA, so he's like in a different location. Dolores was born in Missouri. I think they traveled around, but at the time they were doing a lot of her work, she was in Arkansas. Like, they were independently doing these things.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome. Like, it makes it even more convincing.
Yeah, like it's true, like science, right? Like you're both going out and doing your own tests and comparing your results.
You got whole different groups of people. You don't even know probably the other ones doing this.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
I do too.
So, quote, in the early stages of their exit, all souls encountered a quote unquote wispy cloudiness. So it sounds kind of like that energy tunnel stuff. Around them that soon becomes clear, enabling them to look off into a vast distance. This is the moment when the average soul sees a ghostly form of energy coming toward them. This figure may be a loved one or soulmate, or it might even be like a few people coming to see you. But this is usually your guide or your greeter. So there's kind of that greeting thing again. In circumstances where we are met by a spouse or a friend who has passed, or maybe like your guide, or it's going to be somebody special that means something to you. In all my years of research, I have never had a single subject who was met by a major religious figure such as Jesus or Buddha. Still, the loving essence of the great teacher from Earth is within the personal guides who were assigned to us. So, yeah, apparently, like your guide, you click with them instantaneously. And then there's like this orientation or reorientation kind of process as well. So kind of that debriefing, I guess. I think he even called it more of like a debriefing space is kind of how he viewed it. So as the soul settles back into their home, you kind of like start to lose your earthliness too. So he talks a little bit more that you're no longer like that necessarily that person you were in that body.
Wow,
Like
you really like have like shed that, like your true
like you're your
self, I
soul.
guess, your soul self.
Right. So, you're no longer have the constraints of the body. And this has always been something with me. So it's like your personality is so dictated by your brain. And they're saying that, like, yeah, that was your earthly personality. Your soul personality might be a little different.
That's funny.
So they don't grieve about their recent physical death in the same way their loved ones will.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
just different, and I feel like that kind of helped me be like, why do people not linger and try to send you a sign? And it sounds like there's just such a disconnection from that earthly
Yeah.
body.
That they just can't.
The second the cord's cut, I think a lot of people are like, bye, I have other shit I have to do now. Or
Yeah.
like
And
it
then
just
and then they probably, because time, like you said, like time is so linear here, but it's not there. They're probably, I'm gonna see these people anyway in like 10 minutes or whatever,
right.
like so you don't have like that, like I'm not gonna see you for the rest of my life. And I think that's the biggest thing with death here, right? It's like I'm not ever gonna see this person, and I think when your soul, you're like, well, yeah, like I'm gonna see you and on vacation, like it's fine.
Like, dude, we
So
just
maybe
spent a
like
million
you don't
years
have the
together.
grief like we have here on Earth. It's just different.
Yeah, because it's not like really anything's lost, I guess.
Yeah, there maybe that's why you've got that soul. It's just like it's fine. Like it's not like I'm not gonna see you. Like I'll see you like in just a few.
Yeah. It's almost just like popping out a DVD, like, oh, that life was interesting. What do you want to watch next?
Yeah, yeah. So you just don't have those same feelings, I guess, that
Yeah,
we.
like maybe each of your lives is more like your more or less favorite movies,
Yeah.
you know? On some I thought this was interesting. This is where I think it kind of starts to get trippy. So on some occasions, a soul may divide its energy and live parallel lives in separate bodies. Like you
Wait,
can
hang on.
do that.
All right, let me make sure I've got this in my head right. All right, so basically you're saying I could be right here with you now in 2024, having this conversation, recording this podcast. I could also be with you in 1987 and we're running around playing wherever. And at the same time, I'm also with you in like the 20s doing something.
Or
But
it's
yeah,
not you though. It's you might be a black man in the 1960s. Like you're a different
it's not
person,
just me. I'm a completely different person.
right? It's a reflection of your soul into into
But
other
it's still
people.
my soul.
It's
I'm
still
not
your
sharing.
soul.
It's not separate souls. It's one soul.
It's a
It's just
piece
a
of your
reflection.
soul. It's your Horcrux. No, I'm just kidding.
That's tough. That's really hard for me to
It's
really
like I
wrap
can
my
kind of go with that. So it's like, and if
Give
you
me an
really think
example.
about the theory of oneness, wouldn't it make sense that maybe you are right now different people living on the planet or throughout time? Like I don't know.
Give me an example. Like I'm not following.
It's almost like being in two places at once, but they're holograms of you. The real you is still your soul in heaven or the spirit realm.
But you are in the spirit realm.
There's always a part of you that's in the spirit
Like
realm and
even now.
holograms of you to get all of these experiences.
Oh,
Does that make sense? More
so
so
it's different. It's a
it's
different
different. And the
It's not like
hologram
you're coming to Earth. It's like you're 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 projecting your parts of your soul to
into other people.
other people. That's
Yeah.
weird.
I don't know. That's what I mean. Like this stuff gets
I don't
trippy.
know. I don't think I can put that. I don't know. I
Well,
want
that's okay. Maybe you're not doing that. But yeah, some apparently like they don't commonly do this, but you can. Uh,
okay.
which takes me to like doppelgangers,
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Like, is that your
right?
doppelganger?
Which I
Yeah.
think it could be, but I think you're also several different people. Like this meat sack, this is not you. Your
Yeah.
soul is something different than this. This is
Right.
just a
But that's
part
why I
of
don't
whatever
understand
that
how you
is.
can share your soul.
Well, you're not because it's just a part of you. Like you're not sharing it with anybody. It's still you because the person isn't a soul. The person is just like the vehicle of a part of the soul.
But then when they die, they don't have that journey because they're already in the afterlife.
Well, it's kind of like I guess they return to So I don't know. I don't know what happens then.
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird.
I have no idea.
That one's hard for me.
That to me, that where it gets into like the oneness of everything.
Yeah.
And where I'm like, but I am clearly separate. But
right.
But maybe not. Like I can't understand that. So I don't know. That's just one side note. So and this is where it gets into that weird time thing. So let's say like where you're split. So let's say even if a loved one has reincarnated just as you're returning from your life, that way you could still see each other in the spirit realm. Because there's like this omnipresent part of your soul that always stays there.
Gotcha. Okay, that's still tricky
so
to me.
I don't know. Just food for thought. And yeah, there again, like this is all kind of that decompression time of reflection and counseling with your guides to review your life. Quote, the meeting may be long or short depending upon the circumstances of what we did or did not accomplish with regards to our life contracts. Special karmic issues are also reviewed, although they will be discussed later in minute detail within our soul cluster group. So that's kind of like the soul family, I think. He calls it like a soul cluster group.
Yeah.
It's all your soulmates. The returning energy of some souls will not be sent into their soul group right away. So kind of like that holding place before you go back to your soul family.
Yeah, it's like
saying that's kind of the same.
Maybe if we like had a traumatic life, or maybe we need to just kind of back to our family.
Which I think this is kind of fun. So it says some that wait to join their soul group. These are souls who were contaminated by their physical bodies and became involved with evil acts.
Oh.
So there is a difference between wrongdoing with no premeditated desire to hurt someone and intentional evil. So I think a lot of times we accidentally do hurt people, so they do take intention into account. It sounds like
oh, I didn't really mean to do, or other than,
or like I didn't realize I ruined that person. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it could have been like by making that comment, I didn't realize it would set them or like cause them harm for their life. Versus like, yes, that's exactly what I came to this earth to do, is go after this person.
Yeah, so there is a difference between wrongdoing with no, I already said that, someone intentional. The degrees of harm to others from mischief to malevolence are carefully evaluated. So souls associated with evil are one taken to what they call like an intensive care unit. Almost where they kind of work on your energy. They try to fix you and make you whole again.
Wow.
Yeah, like you toxified yourself pretty good, and
holy moly.
It's like the guides, they'll try to work on your energy to help correct it.
We gotta fix this.
Yeah, and so then depending upon the nature of their transgressions, these souls could be rather quickly returned to Earth. So you might be like, wow, I really screwed that up. I need to go make it right now.
Yeah, they're like, nope.
They might even well choose to be a victim of evil acts that they committed in life.
Okay.
It's up to them, though. It's not their punishment. They're choosing this. It's kind of where it goes. And then for the really bad apples, I called this one solitary confinement. I'll just let everybody laugh at that. Okay. Quote, still, if their actions were prolonged and especially cruel over a number of lives, this would denote a pattern of wrongful behavior. Such souls could spend a long while in a solitary spiritual existence, possibly over 1,000 Earth years.
They're like, nope.
Like, you're gonna time out.
You just keep getting reborn and reborn and reborn. They're like, nope.
Like, stop killing people.
No, you did it again. Like, they just can't pass the test.
They just can't do it.
Okay, all right.
A guiding principle in the spirit world is that wrongdoing, intentional or unintentional, on the part of all souls will need to be redressed in some form in a future life. This is not considered punishment or even penance as much of an opportunity for karmic growth. There is no hell for souls except perhaps on Earth.
See, I agree, yeah.
So this might be it, guys. This might be your hell or your penance that you're putting on yourself.
Right. But remember, it was your choosing. Like, they didn't force you to do it. Like, Because I really feel like I feel like sometimes the consequences we harm ourselves or more than anything on earth. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, a lot of times I think we can be harder on ourselves too, right?
Yeah,
Like I
like
feel
I think
like
so.
people who have really rough lives, I almost feel like even their guides are probably like, you really don't have to take it that hard. Like, you
Yeah,
know what I mean? But maybe you're like, oh, I just feel so horrible. I don't know. Especially if it sounds like a soul might be quite different from the limits of, let's say, your brain. Like, who knows what the thoughts of a soul is versus a
yeah.
human? Like, it's just
I mean,
crazy.
like maybe I mean it almost sounds like we all are really good souls when you get down to it. Like, like we just are just learning and trying to do better and I don't know, live in harmony and
Yeah. Um,
right.
and this is another thing he says that some souls, depending on their life, they might want a bit of rest. So there's kind of that rest time, decompression
Yeah.
time, but then it's all to rest up for your homecoming. This sounds like the best part. Um, so one subject of mine had this to say about his homecoming welcome.
Okay, let's hear it.
After my last life, my group organized one hell of a party with music, wine, dancing, and singing. They arranged everything to look like a classical Roman festival with marble halls, togas, and all the exotic furnishing prevalent in our many lives together in the ancient world. Melissa, a primary soulmate, was waiting for me right up front, recreating the age that I remember her best and looking as radiant as ever.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Soul groups range between 3 and 25 members, with the average having about 15. There are times when souls from nearby cluster groups may want to connect with each other. Often, this activity involves older souls who have made many friends from other groups with whom they have been associated over hundreds of past lives. So, yeah, it sounds like a really awesome party
Yeah, it
whenever you
does.
finally get back with your soul group.
We're gonna be doing an 80s theme party, I feel like, when I go.
Which 80s?
The 1980s.
1880s.
But maybe not. I don't know.
Um,
Yeah, 1880s.
yeah, I think it sounds really fun. Apparently, like some even say that with their soul group, maybe in a particular life, they didn't have a lot of them in that life for like
Mhm.
maybe learning independence. So it's even better for not having seen them for so long.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. It sounds like there's a lot that happens after you die, according to these folks.
I think it's awesome. So yeah, so I had a past life regression that Adele got me for my birthday, and it was really trippy. It was awesome. Um, just I won't tell you guys a whole lot about it because but like one thing is in this life, like I am petrified of fire, and I have never had a fire experience in this lifetime. Like I don't like bonfires. I don't like open flame candles. Scared to death of fire. And it turns out in my past life my family had like been they died in a fire. So it's like that explains how that kind of carried over to this life. And I got to meet my spirit guide, Laythine, who was like our neighbor growing up. And so that was I didn't recognize her because she wasn't in the form that I recognized. So and then I went to a baby shower not too long after that past life regression. Um, and a lady that was a medium, she's like, there is a lady that is like I can see her. She just wants you to know that she was there, but she like it was like a neighbor or something. And I was like, oh my God, it's Leifine. So it was really cool. It was really cool. It was a great
Yeah.
present.
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. According to these series, it sounds like it's possible.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I think it gives you hope, but like not only in the afterlife, but I think in this life too. It like we were talking about earlier, like not hating people so much with their antics and maybe just seeing them a little like, man, they're just, they're a new soul. They got to figure it out. I think it helps calm that.
But I do think it odd how much overlap they had in their sessions. And it sounds like a lot of the people in the scientific community discredited a lot of this just because Like a lot of times they aren't sure like what you're saying in those sleep-like states. And I guess to their point, sometimes your dreams don't really mean anything, but people say that past life regressions are so different from a standard dream.
They are because okay, when I had my past life regression, I thought I would be asleep. Like I thought that they would like do like, 'cause I never had any kind of hypnosis. And so I literally thought it was going to be like a look into my eyes. And it is not. Like you are not asleep. You are still completely conscious. Like you're not asleep at all. And so that's why I would say that I could say that I don't think that's true because it's not really a dream. It's like you're still fully awake, but you're like in a
Yeah.
dream life, but you're not really. It's just it's strange. It's strange, like to be in that state. But it is. It's kind of like a right before you fall asleep, kind of like a groggy state that you're completely aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, it really is just the subconscious and consciousness are already so mysterious.
Just I really love this, and I always watch Dolores. Like, the videos are always on TikTok, and they're
She has a
always
lot of video content.
yeah. I think her work is so important. Um, and I love that you covered this. It's great.
So I don't know, guys. Maybe there is more. Maybe there's a lot more.
A lot more, a whole lot more than we can even scratch the surface on. Yeah. So
But
yeah, so stay
yeah.
present this week, guys. That was good. That was great. I really like that, Adele. That was really, really good.
Well, thank you. And speaking of more, I guess we should see
Let's
what
see. I
topic
mean,
we
this is
have
going to
next
be a
week.
tough one to follow. I'm like, dang, I don't know.
Well, let's spin the wheel and see.
All right, let's see.
You gotta be kidding me. You got another presenter's
And
choice.
I tell you, okay, well,
All
I'll
right.
take it.
I
Yeah,
don't
and
know if that
hey,
makes it easier or harder.
sometimes it's harder because there's just so many topics. But you know what? This would be really cool if anyone's listening. Tell us what you might want me to cover next week. Find us on social if there's a topic you're interested in knowing more about. Let me know. I'll cover it.
Okay, mom's gonna text you.
All right, come on, Mom. I'm ready. Tell me what you want to learn about. Although you'll know way more than I do.
Yeah, maybe she should come on the show.
I know. I know it. Well, Dell, that was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was a hard topic, but you presented it beautifully.
Well, thank you. It was a fun one.
I really like it a
We
lot.
really baked your noodle.
Yeah, you did. Well, as we say here on our podcast, stay safe out there, friends,
Stay curious.
and never trust the living.
Those energy people,
Those
especially.
those low energy
frequency.
vibing. Yeah, you stay away from those. All right, guys, stay present this week.
All right, later, taters.